Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Over the past year, we have seen many of our favorite hometown restaurants, bars close because of liability insurance in South Carolina. It's been an issue for several years now. It's just unaffordable. The South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association has been working on this issue for quite some time now. Legislation was passed last session. It's gone into effect. But the question is it working? Joining us now is Chris Smith, Executive Director of the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association, to break down how things are going in South Carolina, what the General Assembly is looking to do now, and what the next steps are. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate you having me.
Always a pleasure. So let's just start with sort of a summary and assume that maybe some of our listeners aren't aware of the issue. Take us back to last year. The legislature passed a law that was designed to ease the burden. Give us an update of how that might be working.
Sure. So they passed House Bill 3430, which basically mandates that bars that close after midnight have to have forensic ID scanners, that anybody that touches alcohol that works over 10 hours a week has to have mandatory training. And then there are some insurance mitigation things, closing at midnight, having more than 40% of food sales are just a couple to mention. And we were cautiously optimistic that this bill would do something. Unfortunately, the bars and taverns and venues have complied with the law for the most part. And we are not seeing any reductions in insurance premiums with these mitigating factors in place. So we're still seeing increases for places. We're still seeing insurance companies not coming back into the market. We were told it's going to take some time, but obviously, like you said before, this issue has been going on for a few years now, and the impact, you see almost weekly that there's a new place closing somewhere in the state. One of our, favorite mom and pops that we like to go to and eat dinner and, have a couple of adult beverages. Yeah. So that's kind of where we stand right now as far as what happened last year. And there's some things that are going to happen this year, hopefully.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about now, it's my understanding the state, the General Assembly passed the law last year. It took effect January the 1st. So we're talking about not quite 6 months now. Have you guys talked to people in the insurance industry and try to get a feel for how they feel about the situation and what their thoughts are on how long it would take before it will affect their industry and they can potentially offer you guys better rates?
So the thing with House Bill 3430 that passed last year is there's no reason for these insurance companies to comply with the mitigating factors, right? So for the server training, for example, you have to have that $1 million overall policy. You're supposed to get $250,000 off of that $1 million to help lower that overall cost. There's no teeth to the bill, so insurance companies aren't required to comply with it. Yeah. It is kind of an arbitrary thing for them. So what we're seeing is that people are up for renewal, and they're saying, we got the ID scanner, we did the server training, we're closing at midnight. We're not having karaoke or trivia or line dancing in our locations anymore. And the insurance companies are basically saying, well, I'm sorry, but we don't have to comply with that. We're still at the $1 million policy that we're requiring.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing anything, unfortunately, and insurance premiums keep going up. It's the same 2 or 3 companies that are insuring, and because it's not a competitive market, you're seeing that they can basically charge whatever they like.
Right. Chris Smith is my guest today. He's the executive director of the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association. You know, Chris, last year you and I spoke about this. I talked with others in both the bar and tavern industry and the insurance industry, and I've followed insurance issues over the years. And I was a little afraid that something like this was going to happen because it was kind of like there was not a whole lot of communication. And tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like last year when all the discussion was going on, the insurance company really, they didn't have a lot to say. They weren't confirming if what the legislature was attempting to do would work or would not work. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we asked the insurance companies, as you know, when negotiations were going on between multiple parties, that the insurance companies come to the table, help us understand what we can do to bring you guys back into the fold to start doing policies again in the state of South Carolina. And unfortunately, it was silence from them.
Yeah.
And you know, there were hearings. Companies were asked to come and testify that never showed up. So this is one of the part of the problems. I as I like to say, it's a three-pronged problem, right? So you got the insurance companies who don't want to come to the table. You've got the trial lawyer lobby, and you've got them who are sue happy. And then you've got lawyer legislators who are basically making money off of the laws that they're passing. So all this has culminated into a breaking point, which literally we are at this point.
Yep. And unfortunately, it's not really necessarily affecting them directly. It's affecting those of you, the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association owners, the small mom and pop businesses out there who know nothing about necessarily the legislative process and the lawyer legislators who work and serve in the legislature but also practice law in the courts. And so, you know, Chris, and with me today is Chris Smith. We're talking about the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association's work in trying to get some affordable insurance for bar and taverns across the state, because it's really affected the industry. We've seen a lot of good businesses just have to throw in the towel and give it up. But, you know, correct. Chris, back to the insurance companies, because I interviewed some of them as well last year, and the response I got from them was, you know, we can't tell you because and again, they're telling me that until the law takes effect and it has some time for them to see what their loss ratios are, see what kind of claims are presented, what type of settlements are made. And they were telling me it could take a year, 2 years, 3 years to get some kind of experience there. And they weren't too they weren't too convinced that what was done last year was necessarily the real problem. They told me the problem is we got to find a way to keep the lawsuits from just being so rampant, and you know, share in the liability. And there are horror stories that I heard from some of the people on that side of the industry where, you know, they really weren't even directly involved. Somebody just happened to be in their restaurant, bar, or convenience store, and, you know, hours later, they'd already been to 2 or 3 other places, but they still get pulled in. And so it's a really complex issue, isn't it?
It is, and it's not a sexy subject to talk about. Tort reform and joint and several liability. People look at me like I have 2 heads when I start talking about it. So it's not one of those things that people really know about, or people, turn around and see on the news all the time or read in a paper or online. So it's kind of hard to explain a lot of the machinations that go on with this kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate, we've educated our members as best as we can. And I understand, there were some, and I'm not saying everything in 3430 was bad. There were some good things in there. Yeah. Now the drunk driver is on the verdict form. They actually are being held responsible. the level goes from 100% to 50% on who is liable, right?
Yeah.
So, if somebody goes into bar A, has a beer, goes into B, has 2 beers, and goes into C, and has 6 beers, and then gets into an accident, before they were all at fault, right? For the equal amount. Now you got video cameras and receipts and all that kind of stuff. Bar C will take on most of the responsibility. We'll say 80% because he had 6 beers there before driving home.
Yeah.
Bar B had 2 beers, so they're on the hook for 10%, and the first bar is on the hook for 5%.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I want to talk about, and the big issue here, is there's no personal responsibility anymore. That's the big issue as well.
Yeah.
Is that people decide that they're going to go out on a Friday night. They had a bad week, whether it's at work or family life, and they go out and get schnockered on purpose and then get behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, just crazy. Chris, if you would, and Chris Smith is the executive director of the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association. Give us some real world sense of how many businesses are we talking about here that you know of that have either closed or delayed opening, or they're just barely hanging on?
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard because there's a lot of factors that have been going on. Obviously, South Carolina has become very popular. Lots of people are moving here. Rents have risen. Food costs have gone through the roof, and the combination with insurance. But and I would say somewhere in the hundreds at least, where this liquor liability insurance problem has affected in one way or another them either closing, not opening. I know there are, especially in the upstate, a lot of places have now, they were going to open in maybe Greenville or Fountain Inn or Simpsonville. They're now looking in Western North Carolina to open because policies there are, you could get a policy there for $5,000 or $6,000, where right now, if you try to open a bar, you're looking at $30,000 to $35,000.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make economic sense for somebody to open here.
Yeah.
And also, in South Carolina, and people don't realize this when I go around the state talking about, we are number 2 in economics. Hospitality and tourism is number 2 economic driver in the state of South Carolina, which is why I don't understand why these legislators don't open their eyes to how much tax revenue, jobs, employment, things of that nature that are being lost because of these laws. Yeah.
Yep. I get it. Now, Chris, interesting development. Just recently, the Senate, South Carolina Senate, is talking about suspending the law that they just passed for a year. Do you think that's a step in the right direction, or does it just kind of kick the can down the road? Does it confuse things even further?
Well, I applaud Senator Massey for the bold move of bringing this bill to the floor. I had actually talked about it with some of our other partners that we've been working with to get a fix, a quicker fix, so to speak. And this was one of the things that was brought to the table. I think the suspension, it'll only last the fiscal budget year in the state of South Carolina. And what I think it does with the suspension is it opens up more time to negotiate. Right. Yeah. So we are sitting here right now. We had 3430 passed. We're about almost 6 months in. Nothing has really changed. So let's suspend this for now so that we can keep going. We can have, the business development and the economic development continue in the state of South Carolina where it isn't crushing people. And then we can negotiate and figure out, what have other states done? Because other states have this issue too. We looked at Alabama a few years ago, Florida, Tennessee. So let's study what they've done and see if we can come to a compromise between insurance, the trial lawyers, and the businesses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chris Smith is my guest. Chris, as we kind of wrap things up here today, let's talk about something fun. And you guys have a fun event coming up, Luxury Bingo. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so Sunday, May 3rd at Social Latitude on Woodruff Road in Greenville. We are going to have an event from 2 to 5. There's 10 rounds of bingo. Each round is going to have some things like you can win a 1-week stay at a condo on the beach in Hilton Head, a 1-week stay at a condo in Myrtle. A band has said they will come set up in your backyard and play a 2 to 4 hour set. And we've paired that with a barbecue, a private chef experience for up to 20 people. So any prize that is won in one of these 10 rounds won't be worth less than $500 in value.
Wow.
So it's going to be a fun, great event. We have a DJ. It costs $55. Doors open at 1 o'clock. The games start at 2 and they go to 5.
Okay, and that's Saturday, May the 3rd. Sunday, May the 3rd.
Yes.
Social Latitude on Woodruff Road. Is there information on your website if they were to go there?
Absolutely. They can go to scbata.org, or if you go on Eventbrite, you can purchase tickets there.
Okay, get your tickets for luxury bingo, and it's going to be a fun day, and you can kind of help the team over at the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association. Hey, Chris, it's always good talking with you. Appreciate the work that you continue to put in, and I wish I could tell you that this is going to end soon, but I think there's probably a lot more work to be done, but I'm glad that you're hanging in there.
I appreciate it. Anytime, Joey. Have a great day.
You too. That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.